Okay, so the FreeDOS guy just showed up. This is God's temple. It is divine intellect. It's 64-bit. It's not real mode. It's inevitable. It's God's temple. He claims it. Ask him. Ask God. Crack open a book randomly. Anyway, so here's my demands for God will claim his temple publicly, and this will. Okay, so VMware has to support PC Speaker again. Windows and Linux need to support Red C file system. Red C is a simple. It's kind of like FAT. It's like FAT with 64-bit fixed size entries, limited line name, and a boot record. It has an allocation bitmap. It doesn't have a FAT table. You cannot grow files. So we're going to get rid of FAT, save some code, get rid of ISO 9660. We're just going to put an image of the Red C on the CD-ROM. We're going to get rid of my ISO file creator, save some more lines of code. The rule is hardware in the future must reduce the driver line count. The only thing you can do is reduce it. You cannot increase it. That's how it's going to last for the next 1,000 years. It must be perfect. If there's a blemish, you fix it. 100,000 line of code limit. So right now it handles ATA at different I/O addresses, but what we want to do, it takes a lot of code to figure out which address. We want the hard disk to be at primary master CD-ROM, see at secondary master IDE. None of this fucking around. I don't know why they cluster fucked it. PS2 emulated keyboard and mouse. Some BIOSes don't enable the mouse to fuck with the Chinese. Fuck that. VMware must allow a TAPI interface to flow directly to the CD-ROM. When you're in VMware, we want to be able to directly control the CD DVD. Maybe we can make Intel change the instruction timing for in-out to be faster. Right now it's a standard for ISA 4 megahertz or whatever it was. For our purposes, it would help if they made it fast. I think we're bandwidth limited. We're not doing PCI. PCI has no place in God's temple. They should add a reset switch, fast boot option. VMware and others list TempleOS as an official. Okay, we want to get rid of BMP file that's upside down and cluster fucked. We want a simple without a palette even. We want it simple. So okay, this is like it's God's temple. Everybody must appear before the Lord 3 times a year, not appear empty. They have to do an offering. You get God's response. This is not just an operating system. It's God's temple. Anyway, watch. We can go talk to him. You giving me shit? Talk to Mr. God. He'll fuck you up. He's reasonable. Nobody gives me shit. When thy people Israel be smitten down before the enemy because they have sinned against thee, and ye shall turn to thee and confess thy name and pray and make supplication in thy house, then hear thou from heaven and forgive the sin of the people Israel and bring them again into the land that thou gavest unto their fathers, when heaven is shut up and there is no rain because they have sinned against thee, and if they pray to this place. Just imagine first-person shooters for the next 1,000 years. And confess thy name, and how clusterfucked everything is, because it's clusterfucked. And turn from their sin when thou afflict them. Then hear in heaven and forgive their sin and sin of thy servants and their people Israel. Teach them the good way wherein they should walk, and give rain upon the land which thou hast given to thy people for an inheritance. God said this is our ancestral land. like the Commodore 64. If there be in the land famine, or pestilence, or blasting mildew, locust, or if there be caterpillar, or if the enemy besiege them in the land of their cities, plague, whatsoever sickness there be, what prayer and supplication may be made for man and all the people of Israel. Okay, so Solomon was a wise guy. He foresaw the future. I foresee the future, and I say, I foresaw the future. So, yeah, we have first-person shooter. Ooh, isn't this fun? So you can, so we have graphics and source code. Graphics and source code. We are not in Kansas anymore, folks. 64-bit graphics and source code. So, this is my favorite game, Flat Tops. You can't see the little airplanes when I run it. It's awesome. It's an awesome game. It's the best game ever. Okay. So, we have rawhide. You can round up cattle. Ooh, isn't this fun? I don't play games anymore. You get to round up all these cattles. We can make rustlers and snakes and fences. Rustlers and snakes and fences and goats and sheep and... Why? I don't understand games. I just like to talk to God and make hymns. Make hymns and talk to God. Fuck games. That's what I say. Why do you want to play games? Make hymns and talk to God. Thee sing, what is the burden of the Lord? Thou shalt say unto them, what burden? I will forsake you, saith the Lord. As for the prophets and the priests and the people that say the burden of the Lord, I will even punish that man and his house. Thus shall you say, even one to his neighbor, and every one to his brother, that hath the Lord answered. What hath the Lord spoken? And the burden of the Lord shall ye mention no more. For every man's word shall be his burden. For ye have perverted the words of the living God, of the Lord of the host of our God. Thus shall ye say to the prophet, what hath the Lord answered thee? And what hath the Lord spoken? But since ye say the burden of the Lord, therefore thus saith the Lord, because ye have said this word, the burden of the Lord, and I have sent unto you, saying, ye shall not say the burden of the Lord. Therefore, behold, even I will utterly forget you. I will forsake you in the city that I gave you and your fathers, and cast you out of my presence. No! He's joking. I didn't say the burden of the Lord.